Welcome and thank you for attending the Office of Barber and Cosmetology Licensure Stakeholder meeting today. The date is March 24th, 2023, and the time is 10 a.m. Before we get started, we'd like to introduce the staff members from the Division of Professions and Occupations that are present. My name is Darcy Magnuson, and I'm a regulatory analyst with the division. Also attending is Ophelia Duran, Program Director. And we have a couple of other program staff, Dominic Domingo and Kathy Duran. Due to concerns surrounding COVID-19, looks like there are other program staff, but I won't go through everyone. The division has transitioned to a platform that is 100% virtual, and we appreciate your flexibility. As many of you have been to DORA stakeholder meetings before, we would like to reiterate the importance of your comments today. DORA makes decisions every day that may affect your life and your business, so your input is vital in the rulemaking process. Throughout this process, our goal is to create regulations that clarify and explain legislation, ensure minimum competency to enter and continue to practice, and provide only what is absolutely necessary for consumer protection without creating unnecessary barriers to the marketplace. Your input will be part of the information that goes to the director as she considers adopting revisions to the rules. More specifically, today we will be seeking feedback regarding updates to Rules 1.1, abbreviations. There's a typographical error there. Rule 1.2, licensure by examination, regarding the accepted apprenticeship programs to meet the training requirements. Rule 1.4, licensure by endorsement, specifically military spouses. And Rule 1.9, additional practices and training requirements regarding semi-permanent or permanent makeup. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the program's website by the close of business on Monday under the Public Notices tab. That's where you can find all information regarding rulemaking, including the proposed draft rules and the written stakeholder comments as we receive them. As this stakeholder meeting is held solely by webinar, please raise your hand using the hand icon if you would like to speak, and we will unmute your line so you'll be heard by everyone. Or you can type your comment in the question section and we will read it aloud. Before we start taking comments, we ask that anyone providing comments, please state your name and the name of the organization that you represent, if any. Feel free to provide general comments on the rule changes or specific comments on the proposed language. And please limit your comments to no more than 3 to 5 minutes, and try not to repeat something that was already said, but we appreciate if you state whether you're in agreement with someone else, and we will note that. Some housekeeping ground rules. If you are using audio through your computer, please remember to put any phones on vibrate or turn them off. And whether you are using computer or phone audio, try to keep background noises to a minimum with speaking. So I will share my screen and share the proposed changes. And while I do that, Ophelia, did you want to add anything before we ask for stakeholder comments?
Thank you, Darcy. Hi, everyone. It's great to have you all here and participating. So thank you for, again, taking the time out of your day to help us make the best rules that we can. That's it from me, Darcy.
Thank you, Ophelia. So like I mentioned, the draft rules are posted on the program's website under the Public Notices tab. We'll walk through them briefly right now, just the proposed changes, and then take stakeholder comments from there. So if anyone wants to provide comments, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute your line, or you can use the Q&A function of the Zoom webinar. So like I said in the introduction, Rule 1.1, abbreviations and definitions, you can see that there's just a missing word there. So the proposed addition is to add higher. 1.2, licensure by examination, adding into this subsection the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment and any apprenticeship programs. And I see we have a raised hand, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. It's Peggy Sue Schmaltz. I have unmuted you, so we should be able to hear you. Peggy Sue Schmaltz.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it took me a moment to mute. I apologize.
No problem.
Could we put a comma after the word labor that's still in black and make the word the a small case? So that's a continuous sentence that says United States Department of Labor, comma, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment and its apprenticeship programs that are approved by DPOS or CCCS. That to me reads much more cohesively.
And you wanted to remove the comma after employment? Is that the suggestion?
No. Leave leave that there. I'm just suggesting that we get rid of the period after the word labor under U.S. Department of Labor. Put a comma there, just as you did with the blue, and make that a small t so it's a continuous sentence as opposed to a sentence that's starting anew.
Okay. And there is a comma there. I'm going to make it so it's not in red line, and that way you can take a look and see if we have it correct. You're correct that it should be a small letter T, but I think that reads the way. Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other comments regarding this proposed? Okay, let's see here. Kate Anderson, I have unmuted you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm Kate Anderson. I'm the policy advisor to the State Apprenticeship Agency at the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And we have a couple comments on this particular change, just to ensure that everything is accurate and, you know, conveys what you're intending here. So I think the language that's proposed, it suggests that approval by DPOS or CCCS may substitute for approval by DOL or CDLE. And so we would propose to say that, here, let me actually, would you like me to put in the chat what we would propose here? Because there's a few different changes.
That would be great, yeah. And then if you want to, I'll drop them into a comment here. And then if you want to submit them via writing to via email, then we can add them to the written comments as well. So.
Okay, let's see. Looks like the chat's disabled.
You can drop it into the Q&A.
Okay.
And I can grab it from there.
So we want to make sure that it references the State Apprenticeship Agency rather than CDLE, because it's the State Apprenticeship Agency that will have the authority to register apprenticeship programs. And then reference the United States Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship.
Okay.
So it should be a apprenticeship program that's registered, not approved by USDOL's Office of Apprenticeship or the State Apprenticeship Agency, and approved by DPOS or CCCS.
Okay, so your recommendation is to strike in subsection 2 the current language and replace it with what you added into the Q&A.
Yes, that's our comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I show Hillary Hilliard. I have unmuted you.
Hi, this is Hillary with the School of Botanical and Medical Aesthetics. I own a aesthetics school here in Colorado. Maybe you all will get to this later, but this 1.2B2 is unclear for me. We currently have internship programs for our students, and I'm wanting to know if this program, this apprenticeship program, means that a student does not have to go through a DPOS or CCC. Well, if they can go directly, they can bypass us and go directly into a state apprenticeship program for training. That's what I'm trying to understand, because then that will have a big impact on my business. Thank you.
Ophelia, are you able to answer that question?
No, not at this time. I think that's why we're looking at changing this rule, because it's not clear how things are going to be implemented with that Office of Apprenticeship. So I think we need to look at that piece of it as well.
Okay, thank you. Do you mind repeating your question so I can type it into the comments?
Of course, yes. Darcy, yes. So my question is for 1.2B, number 2, how this apprenticeship program will impact my DPOS approved school. So we currently have internship programs at my school that are approved by DPOS. And I'm not understanding right now if, just say, a student is able to bypass our program altogether and go through a state apprenticeship program, meaning will we potentially lose students that don't need to go to a DPOS or CCCS approved school if they're able to bypass us and go to a state apprenticeship program that would deeply and negatively affect and impact my aesthetic school, which is one of the larger ones in the state of Colorado, which is the School of Botanical and Medical Aesthetics. Does that help, Darcy?
Yeah. Can you see the comment?
Yes, I can.
And make sure I have it correctly.
Okay, let me read that. More so, is a student able to bypass not necessarily internship, but bypass my school altogether? Like, did they not have to go to a school at all? Is more my question. So is a student able to bypass school altogether and do an apprenticeship program instead, in lieu of going to my school? I'll wait till I have a few more things. Yeah. If the answer is no, like just say you all say that a student still has to go to my school, right? DPOS or CCCS approved school, then in what way, like which hour categories does the apprenticeship program apply to? So for instance, if a student comes to my school and they have to do, maybe there's 600 hours and the categories are very specific in the state of Colorado, right? For estheticians. So does that mean a student would have to do a certain amount of hours with us and then could go to the state and do an apprenticeship program? But then how would that impact, because we have all of this, like how would that impact our hours, students do with us, our tuition? It would negatively domino effect with what we offer. And I could see this causing our school to go out of business.
Okay. Thank you for that. Will you read again and just make sure I have it correctly?
Yes, thank you. This is perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And you mentioned the school. Did you want me to include that in the comment?
I'm fine with that. Yes, I'm fine with that.
And what is it again?
It's the School of Botanical and Medical Aesthetics. Correct.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to go ahead and place you back on mute. And then our next person who has a raised hand is Mary Canali. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. You are unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. It's Mary Canali with the Division of Private Occupational Schools. I think Ms. Hilliard's question is an important one, but if you could you show the comment made previously by the apprenticeship office, because the apprenticeship office may be able to help us out here. The change that they are proposing, I'm going to start with, it says United States Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship or Colorado's Apprenticeship Agency and approved by DPOS or CCCS. So I think that "and" is different than what was in the strike through there, the red line. And the "and" in the way I'm reading it means it has to be approved by both USDOL, by the State Apprenticeship Office, and by DPOS or CCCS. Can I ask Kate Anderson if that's what she is proposing in the language that she's already asked for?
Absolutely. So I will let Kate, if you can raise your hand, and then you'll jump to the top of my, awesome. Okay, I am unmuting you.
Thank you. Yes, in response to Mary's question, really we defer to you, to DPOS, as to whether that should be "and" approved by DPOS or CCCS. Our concern is we don't want it to say "or." We don't want it to be either you can be registered by DOL or the State Apprenticeship Agency or approved by DPOS or CCCS, because we don't want it to imply that approval by DPOS or CCCS is equivalent to registration through the National Apprenticeship System.
Does that help? Do you have additional questions?
Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm still struggling with, sorry if I'm not tracking this. Are we saying that it's a dual, then it's approved by DPOS and registered with the State Apprenticeship Office? So that means it's going to have to go through, any of these apprenticeships are going to have to go through either DPOS or CCCS. That's my.
I think we're saying we don't want to say that approval by DPOS can replace registration by the State Apprenticeship Agency. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm recommending that it would say "and" rather than "or." But in terms of like everything it says after State Apprenticeship Agency, I would defer to you.
Right. So I go back then to Ophelia with Office of Barber and Cosmetology. So the testing requirements for an applicant to take a test, would they be able to register, take the test if they have only gone through an apprenticeship program registered with DOL or the Department of Labor?
Mary, this is Ophelia. I guess the question would be are there going to be, before I even answer that question, I guess I would have a question of the state apprenticeship program on whether there will be programs that bypass any formal training or that don't require any formal training. That would be my question before I answer that, because I understood that was part of what was in the law that was created a couple years back.
My comment to that then would be that this rule change is a little bit premature, because we need to have a clear understanding. And I know that Dora has been working with the State Apprenticeship Office, as has DPOS. But I think at this point in time, there are too many outstanding questions between the three agencies, making this particular rule change. As you can see, it's caused some confusion, not only for the schools, but for the other agencies involved, that at this point in time, this rule change is premature.
And I would actually, I would agree with Mary's comment, because, while we have a very strong working relationship with Dora and DPOS, we were not aware of this rule prior to seeing the proposed language.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and place both of you back on mute and go on to the next person. If you want to say anything else, you can raise your hand again. Next, I have April Weber Munio. I have unmuted you.
Hi, my name is April Weber Munio, and I own a school in Frisco, Colorado, and a beauty school. And so I do have apprenticeship students that are in cosmetology and hairstylist only. And these students right now, my question is, our apprenticeship program is federal and it's going state. Will we register them? I mean, does the state help us register them with like the new students when the changeover happens with the state apprenticeship program? And now we're not really a federal apprenticeship program. So will that kind of be separate? Like anything that we register with the state would be approved federally, right? Since we're separating from the federal apprenticeship program. Am I understanding that right? Does anything change for that? Like,
Ophelia, are you able to, I see Kate Anderson has her hand raised. Kate, I'm gonna unmute you again. We should be able to hear you. I don't know if you wanted to respond to the question.
Sure, I can try to provide some clarity on what's happening. So on July 1st, the State Apprenticeship Agency will be authorized to register and oversee apprenticeship programs in Colorado and will be part of the national system. So we will have the recognition and authority from USDOL to register programs for the state. And the reason that it still gives either option for DOL or the State Apprenticeship Agency is because there is still a pathway for apprenticeship programs to go directly through USDOL, but whichever path they take, they will have the same recognition in the national apprenticeship system. Does that answer the question?
can you hear me? It's April.
Yes, we can.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to register them federally and statewide as well. Like we would now register people in a program through the state, and it does that, am I understanding that right? Okay.
Yes, so you will not have to do both. You will just work then through the State Apprenticeship Agency.
Okay. And then just another quick question, and it kind of piggybacks off some of the other schools' questions too, is are there going to be more parameters of like, hey, how many hours of school versus work, like is a student gonna obtain? Like, is that gonna change? Because it would impact our school structure, and of course our income, whether or not we be able to afford to stay open.
And I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that question. It sounds like that's a question that maybe
question, yeah,
similar, yeah, with what other people have asked. So will you take a look and make sure that I have your question correct in the comments, and then
structure and income, right? Yes, because it's nice that all the different agencies are represented on here, because just understanding it's like, you know, we're doing this because we care about educating students in our industry and having them be successful at work. So love the apprenticeship program. But if there were even, you know, more parameters around what you're proposing, broken down in like terms that we could understand instead of having to hunt in all three different agencies for the answer, that would be amazing. And then basing our numbers off of that, like, and restructuring programs, like it doesn't have to sound so dooming, but it's daunting when you have so much paperwork particularly with the two different agencies, and kind of streamlining it. Like there's got to be something. It's just hard to get information that's consistent because there's three agencies coming together. And for us, we're just trying to keep up with the school paperwork and the students and the programs and trying to do our best to get them ready for licensure. So if something like that changes, that the information would be readily available and able for us to translate quickly so we can make the appropriate changes for the students and our businesses.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that. Anything else, or are you okay with me moving on to the next person?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand just so I can stay organized. The next person I show is Lorna Candler. I have unmuted you, Lorna Candler. Lorna Candler, if you would like to speak, you are unmuted. While we wait to see if you want to speak, we have gotten a couple of written comments through the Q&A from, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I'm Lorna Candler. I'm from the Department of Higher Education, Division of Private Occupational Schools. I'd just like to mirror what Mary Canale said, what Hillary Hilliard said, also what our folks from CDLE, from the State Apprenticeship Office, have stated. I do think that we really need to make sure we're all clear what roles each of our separate agencies have. Right now, there's quite a bit of overlap, which leads to, confusion and or duplicating oversight. What I want to really clarify is that it sounds to me like this rule makes it sound like there is no prior training or school required for apprenticeships. If that's the case, I think we have a lot more work to do to make sure that everyone understands how this is going to occur. I guess I would also add, if there's no prior training from DPOS or somewhere else prior to the apprenticeship path, then, we're going to have really two different models of programs. We're going to have those under DPOS that are regulated one way, and potentially those that are under SAA that are overseen another way.
Okay. Will you take a look at what I have written there to make sure that I captured correctly what you were trying to convey?
I can't tell if it completely addresses it, but thank you.
And I think that's a great point. So this is part of the process, right? There are people from other state agencies here. But if you want to follow up with written comments, I think those are always helpful. And we do post those on the website under the public notices tab when we receive them, so that everyone can see those and weigh in. So their as received to that link is constantly active and live and updated as we get comments. that tends to be a clear way to convey what you're trying to say, and then other people can read those as well and provide comments. And I will drop into the chat the email address. It's the same email address that is included on all of our notices for this meeting, but I'll drop it into the chat in case anyone wants to follow up with written comments. All right. Next, we have a written comment through the Q&A from Julie Rediger saying this internship sounds like a bad idea. Seems like it would be hard to regulate the education part of an internship program. Okay. So I dropped into the chat the email address, which is dora_dpo_rulemaking@state.co.us in case anyone wants to follow up with written comments. I don't have any more raised hands, so I will go ahead and move on unless anyone wants to provide any additional comments regarding this subsection B2. Okay, Hillary Hilliard, I have unmuted you.
Hi, thank you. Me again. I just wanted to agree with the last comment. I didn't hear who that was from, but one of my big concerns is the unethical situations that will arise from not having formal training. Just from my experience in the past 12 years, having an approved school by the state and seeing situations that arise with people that already go through our program and potentially get licensed and then still are doing unethical things. And so the, it was Julie that said this internship sounds like a bad idea. I see that. Yeah, to regulate the education part of an internship program. Yeah, so there's so many things we've seen, honestly, over the years, and I'm sure all of the state agencies have as well. The worry is who's upholding the ethics of the industries. That is one of my bigger concerns as well. And if left in the hands of a employer, I would say that would be lacking the ethical foundation that is needed to uphold the rules that the state has created. Thank you. I hope I didn't speak too fast there.
I'm trying. If anything looks wrong, then let me know and I can update it.
Just put a lot of thumbs down for me. No, a lot of emojis of thumbs down. Yeah, the ethics, who's upholding the industry. I don't think an employer for an apprenticeship program could uphold the ethics required by the state. I do not think it's apples to apples from just say a plumbing industry doing apprenticeship to aesthetics. There's a lot of issues that can go wrong, and you're working aesthetics or hair or cosmetology or barbering. You're working personally on somebody's face, near their eyes. We're not just working on pipes, we're not just doing plumbing here. There's a lot of issues that could arise with an employer supervising the training fully.
Okay.
Thank you. And I don't know if I know that's not necessarily up for debate right now based on what Mary and Lorna have both said, which I agree with, that this is just a really larger topic to be trying to understand what's going on here, but just wanted to put my 2 cents in with that big concern. So thank you.
Thank you. Julie Rediger added, yes, to say the least, regarding leaving it up to an employer who is to say that person is ethical.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Hillary, if you wanted to say anything else, I was in the process of muting you. I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I've unmuted you again.
Oh, thank you. No, that's perfect. I agree with what Julie was saying, and I would imagine most schools would agree in this manner. And if the state thought about it more and knew all of the situations that we know about and have seen, that yeah, they would also agree. Let's not leave this into the hands of an employer who's to say they're ethical, that person's working for them. there's so many details to be keeping up with. And we are upholding to DPOS, and we are keeping that formal training. And yeah, I don't think that would happen as well with an employer. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mary, I have unmuted you.
Thank you. Just very quickly, I think just to piggyback on what Hillary just said, I think until such time as we're clear as to what DORA is going to accept from the applicant applying for to take the state test. What I heard from Ophelia is they're not sure yet about taking apprenticeship hours only and how that will affect an applicant's ability to take the test. I think until that's clarified too, once again, this rule is probably premature. Rule change.
Thank you. Okay. We can always go back if need be, but I'm going to go ahead and move on and keep an eye out if we have any other raised hands. We can. And then the other part of this, which is related to what everyone was just talking about, is the cross-reference here, as indicated in B2. So I think that's all related. Um, 1.4 licensure by endorsement, subsection E, military spouses. This is to correct, there was a conflict between the statute and the rule, so to make sure that the rule is in line with the statute. Not seeing any raised hands. And then proposed change in 1.9, additional practices and training requirements. Subsection E, permanent or semi-permanent makeup requirements for estheticians and cosmetologists. Adding in title of the course, completion date, and hours for sufficient documentation and what's already in rule regarding training requirements for semi-permanent or permanent makeup. And I know folks can see what's on the screen. I'm reading it so that the people who are listening by phone get a better idea of what we're talking about. Okay, Mary, I have unmuted you.
I would just like to say from DPOS perspective that we are already requiring that schools include this on their transcripts and on their records of completion. So we're not opposed to this at all.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding this proposed change? And I think we received another written comment through the Q&A. I think it's related to what we already talked about. So I'm going to jump back up. If anyone wants to go back to 1.9, we can do that. And it's from Adam Hill. I am a barber and feel like employers will take advantage of apprentices, unlike electrical, plumbing, etc. Apprentices that can always use an extra hand. How would apprentices as a barber or cosmetologist contribute and learn? They would just watch someone else cutting hair for 500 hours. Okay. All right. Any other comments? It looks like we don't have any raised hands and any no comments through the Q&A. Ophelia, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, but we'll do a last call here. And then if no one else wants to provide any feedback, we will wrap up. Joseph Barone, I have unmuted you.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I am a new salon owner. I've owned salons for 1 year now, 3 children's hair salons called Pigtails and Crew Cuts. And first of all, I want to say, I really respect all the schools. The schools are our partners, and they run wonderful career fairs that we've attended to try and recruit. It's unfortunate that the state has not provided clarity regarding this and caused some clear consternation for the owners of the schools. And hopefully we can get clarity for the industry. As a salon owner, even though I'm new at this, I want to express my deep sincerity regarding running an ethical business. And I clearly already, after only 1 year in the beauty industry, can definitely see the values in a good training program. And I would never want to undercut that in any way. That being said, it is a very desperate situation trying to hire right now, as I'm sure everyone in this meeting is quite aware of. We are having to, go above and beyond in our recruitment efforts, and even, one of my 3 salons is under threat of being unprofitable because of a lack of qualified cosmetologists coming to work for us, while our customers continue to simply bang the doors down, demanding more service.
Okay. Sorry. Did I catch that? I'm going to go ahead and place you on mute, I think, because of the echo. But if I didn't capture, what I understood from what you're saying is the concern of not being able to hire people right now. And if I didn't get that correct, then let me know. Hillary Hilliard, oh, I see your hands raised. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and then that way I can, okay, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully the echo is gone. I hung up on my phone. Yeah, I mean, there's equal concerns here, right? I want to express, my compassion for and appreciation for the owners of the schools, and the just the probably loss of sleep at night for those business owners, not knowing if the state's gonna kind of pull the rug on what the training requirements are. I wouldn't want that to happen to them. And I don't think that in the long run, it would be beneficial for salon owners, for business owners, to have that happen. And I don't know, hopefully the intent of all parties involved is to be able to, continue to facilitate excellent training. And, but also the reality is that, stylists are hopping from salon to salon, and it's very difficult to retain good talent right now. Of course, you can combine all of this with the macroeconomic environment, inflation, and increasing minimum wage, and all of the good parts, of course, of of labor and labor rights, which, you know, there's a natural struggle between labor and business owners, of course. So just, you know, it doesn't all have to be in the comments, but you know, I think you've captured the main points there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and place you back on mute. And then Hillary, I have unmuted you.
Thank you, Darcy. I wanted to piggyback on what Joseph said. Joseph, thank you for introducing yourself. I'm actually going to Google your business for my son's next haircut, so thank you for that. I wanted to bring up a notion that maybe some people might not understand, I think, with DPOS. Just being a DPOS approved school, there's really a really good option called the internship programs. So there's internships and apprenticeships. And I know this all needs to be discussed in further detail later, but to bring this up for Joseph, we work with a ton of internship supervisors and businesses currently. So a certain amount of hours of our school program can be used via an internship after they've completed a certain amount of requirements for us. So we have a very robust program where we work with a ton of businesses. So like Joseph's concern about hiring, totally understand that. And that's why we've boosted our internship program over the past year to both help employers and to help our students so that they can get more comfortable with the workforce before they graduate. But then it's all still under our auspice of a school and our governance and our ethical standards that are following DPOS. And those students could get paid. They have to be an employee, of course, as an intern per the Department of Labor. But then for all of these businesses that we're working with, it's really helping them with their hiring issues. And it's kind of, because I've been hiring people for 18 years, and it's kind of like, not to sound crass, but like you try before you buy also, like you also get to like see how that person is before fully committing to them in the long run. So it meets a lot of needs. So I just would like everyone to keep in mind as we pursue this further and further discussions of this, that this is already in place, a best of both worlds. What Joseph needs, what I need as a school, it's already there. I think it's just a matter of maybe schools recognizing that they should do these internship programs like I've already been doing for years, approved by DPOS. So, but maybe Joseph, that might help you. You might be able to find some interns from some schools. We don't do cosmetology, but if we did, I would send students your way. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving back to the semi-permanent and permanent makeup in 1.9, we did get a written comment through the Q&A from Simone Smith, which says, I own a permanent makeup school. Can we have clarity on if this rule means that individuals will be able to submit hours for permanent makeup from training done out of state and bypassing needing to complete the required 132-hour permanent makeup training? And Ophelia, I don't know if you know the answer to that.
Yes, it's already listed there in the rule later on, but remember the full rule isn't included here.
Correct. Okay. So no other changes to the rest of the rule. What you're seeing here only includes the proposed changes. Hopefully that answers your question. If it does not, feel free to let us know. And then from Julie Rediger, I agree. To me, it seems it all refers back to the education part of this. Internship programs after required amount of education with hours is great, but not apprenticeship. Sorry to beat the drum here. Just gonna add up here. Okay, and we have 10 minutes left, and I see Hillary, your hand is raised. I think it is, oh, you lowered it, okay. All right, So we will go ahead and wrap up. I'm getting all my screens. Alrighty. Thank you very much for participating in today's meeting. As we discussed earlier, all comments and program recommendations will be provided to the director for review and consideration. At this point in time, the permanent rulemaking hearing is tentatively scheduled for May 5th, 2023. At that hearing, stakeholders will be given a final opportunity to testify before the director deliberates and decides whether to adopt the proposed changes. Like I said, you can find all information regarding rulemaking on the program's website under the public notices tab. And if you want to submit any written comments, we welcome those. And that does conclude our stakeholder meeting for today. And we thank you again for being here and for your participation.